Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Arvan tells his story. I'm gonna tell about Japan. Japan is an island country in East Asia. It is situated in the Northwest Pacific Ocean and is bordered on the west by the Sea of Japan, while extending from the Sea of Okhotsk in the north toward the East China Sea, Philippine Sea and Taiwan in the south. Japan is a part of the Ring of Fire and spans an archipelago of 6,852 islands, covering 377,978 square kilometers. And the five main islands are Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, Kyushu, and Okinawa. Tokyo is the nation's capital and largest city, followed by Yokohama, Osaka, Nagoya, Sapporo, Fukuoka, Kobe, and Kyoto. Japan is the 11th most populous country in the world, as well as one of the most densely populated and urbanized. About 3/4 of the country's terrain is mountainous, concentrating its population of 125.5 million in narrow coastal plains. Japan is divided into 47 administrative prefectures and 8 traditional regions. The Greater Tokyo area is the most populous metropolitan area in the world, with more than 37.4 million residents. Japan has been inhabited since the Upper Paleolithic period, 3000 BC, though the first written mention of the archipelago appears in China's Chronicle, the Book of Han, finished in the 2nd century AD. Between the 4th and 9th centuries, the kingdoms of Japan became unified under an emperor and the imperial court based in Heian-kyo. Beginning in the 12th century, political power was held by a series of military dictators and feudal lords, and enforced by a class of warrior nobility or samurai. After a century-long period of civil war, the country was reunified in 1603 under the Tokugawa shogunate, which enacted the isolationist foreign policy. In 1854, a United States fleet forced Japan to open trade to the West, which led to the end of the shogunate and the restoration of imperial power in 1868. In the Meiji period, the Empire of Japan adopted a Western model constitution and pursued a program of industrialization and modernization. Amidst a rise in militarism and overseas colonization, Japan invaded China in 1937 and entered World War II as an Axis power in 1941. After suffering defeat in the Pacific War and 2 atomic bombings, Japan surrendered in 1945 and came under a 7-year Allied occupation, during which it adopted a new constitution and began a military alliance with the United States. Under the 1947 Constitution, Japan has maintained a unitary parliamentary constitutional monarchy with a bicameral legislature, the National Diet. Japan is a highly developed country and a great power in global politics. Its economy is the world's third largest by nominal GDP and the fourth largest by PPP. Although Japan has renounced its right to declare war, the country maintains self-defense force that rank as one of the world's strongest militaries. After World War II, Japan experiences record growth in an economic miracle, becoming the second largest economy in the world by 1972, but has stagnated since 1995 in what is referred to as the lost decades. Japan has the world's highest life expectancy, though it is experiencing a decline in population, a global leader in the automotive, robotic, and electronics industries. The country has made significant contributions to science and technology. The culture of Japan is well known around the world, including its art, cuisine, music, and popular culture, which encompasses prominent comic, animation, and video game industries. It is a member of numerous international organizations, including the United Nations since 1956, OECD, G20, and Group of Seven. History. A Paleolithic culture from around 3000 BC constitutes the first known habitation of the islands of Japan. This was followed from around 4500 BC, the start of the Jomon period, by Mesolithic to Neolithic semi-sedentary hunter-gatherer culture characterized by pit dwelling and rudimentary agriculture. Clay vessels from the period are among the oldest surviving examples of pottery from around 1000 BC. Yayoi people began to enter the archipelago from Kyushu, intermingling with the Jomon. The Yayoi period saw the introduction of practices including wet rice farming, a new style of pottery, and metallurgy from China and Korea. According to legend, Emperor Jimmu, grandson of Amaterasu, founded a kingdom in central Japan in 660 BC, beginning and continuous imperial line. Japan feudal era was characterized by the emergence and dominance of a ruling class of warriors, the samurai. In 1185, following the defeat of the Taira clan and the Genpei War, Samurai Minamoto no Yoritomo established a military government at Kamakura. After Yoritomo's death, the Hojo clan came to power as regents for the shogun. The Zen school of Buddhism was introduced from China in the Kamakura period and became popular among the samurai class. The Kamakura shogunate repelled Mongol invasions in 1274 and 1281, but was eventually overthrown by Emperor Go-Daigo. Go-Daigo was defeated by Ashikaga Takauji in 1336, beginning the Muromachi period. The succeeding Ashikaga shogunate failed to control the feudal warlords daimyo, and civil war began in 1467, opening the century-long Sengoku period. In 1854, Commodore Matthew C. Perry and the Black Ships of the United States Navy forced the opening of Japan to the outside war with the Convention of Kanagawa. Subsequent similar treaties with other Western countries brought economic and political crises. The resignation of the shogun led to the Boshin War and the establishment of a centralized state nominally unified under the emperor, the Meiji Restoration, adopting Western political, judicial, and military institutions. The cabinet organized the Privy Council, introduced the Meiji Constitution, 29 November 1890, and assembled the Imperial Diet during the Meiji period. The Empire of Japan remains the most developed nation in Asia and as an industrialized world power that pursued military conflict to expand its sphere of influence. After victories in the First Sino-Japanese War and the Russo-Japanese War, Japan gained control of Taiwan, Korea, and the southern half of Sakhalin. The Japanese population doubled from 35 million in 1873 to 70 million by 1935, with a significant shift to urbanization. The early 20th century saw a period of Taisho democracy, overshadowed by increasing expansionism and militarization. World War I allowed Japan to join the side of the victorious Allies to capture German position in the Pacific and in China. The 1920s saw a political shift towards Nazism, a period of lawlessness following the 1923 Great Tokyo earthquake, the passing of laws against political dissent, and a series of attempted coups. This process accelerated during the 1930s, spawning a number of radical nationalist groups that share a hostility to liberal democracy and dedication to expansion in Asia. In 1931, Japan invaded and occupied Manchuria. Following international condemnation of the occupation, it resigned from the League of Nations 2 years later. In 1936, Japan signed the Anti-Comintern Pact with Nazi Germany. The 1940 Tripartite Pact made it one of the Axis powers. The Empire of Japan invaded other parts of China in 1937, precipitating the Second Sino-Japanese War. In 1940, the Empire invaded France, Indochina, after which the United States placed an oil embargo on Japan. On December 7 until 8, 1941, Japanese forces carried out surprise attacks on Pearl Harbor, as well as on British forces in Malaya, Singapore, and Hong Kong, among others, beginning World War II in the Pacific. Throughout areas occupied by Japan during the war, numerous abuses were committed against local inhabitants. After Allied victories during the next 4 years, which culminated in the Soviet invasion of Manchuria and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, Japan agreed to an unconditional surrender. The war cost Japan its colonies and millions of lives. The allies led by the United States repatriated millions of Japanese settlers from their former colonies and military camps throughout Asia, largely eliminating the Japanese Empire and its influence over the territories it conquered. The Allies convinced the International Military Tribunal for the Far East to prosecute Japanese leaders for war crimes. In 1947, Japan adopted a new constitution emphasizing liberal democratic practices. The Allied occupation ended with the Treaty of San Francisco in 1952, and Japan was granted membership in the United Nations in 1956. A period of record growth propelled Japan to become the second largest economy in the world. This ended in the mid-1990s after the popping of an asset surprise bubble, beginning the last decade. On March 11, 2011, Japan suffered on one of the largest earthquakes in its recorded history, triggering the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster on May 1, 2019, after the historic abdication on Emperor Akihito, his son Naruhito became emperor, beginning the Reiwa era. Let's move on to economy. Japan has the world's third largest economy by nominal GDP, after that of the United States and China, and the fourth largest economy by PPP. As of 2020, Japan's labor force is the world's 8th largest and consists of 66.5 million workers. As of 2021, Japan has a low unemployment rate of around 2.6%. Its poverty rate is the second highest among the G7 nations and exceeds 15.7% of the population. Japan has the highest ratio of public debt to GDP among advanced economies, with national debt estimate to at 248% relative to GDP as of 2022. The Japanese yen is the world's third largest reserve currency after the US dollar and the euro. Wow. Japan was the world's fourth largest exporter and importer in 2021. Its exports has amounted to 15.6% of its total GDP in 2020. As of 2019, Japan's main export market were the United States 19.8% and China 19.1%. Its main exports are motor vehicles, iron and steel products, semiconductors, and auto parts. Japan's main import markets as of 2019 were China 23.5% and the United States 11% and Australia 6.3%. Japan's main imports are machinery and equipment, fossil fuels, foodstuffs, chemicals, and raw materials for its industries. The Japanese variant of capitalism has many distinct features. Keiretsu enterprises are influential and lifetime employment and seniority-based career and advancement are common in the Japanese work environment. Japan has a large cooperative sector, with 3 of the world's 10 largest cooperatives, including the largest consumer cooperative and the largest agricultural cooperative as of 2018. It ranks highly for competitiveness and economic freedom. Japan ranks 6th in the Global Competitiveness Report in 2019. It attracted 31.9 billion international tourists in 2019 and was ranked 11th in the world in 2019 for inbound tourism. The 2021 Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report ranked Japan first in the world out of 117 countries. Its international tourism receipts in 2019 amounted to $46.1 billion. Education. Since the 1947 Fundamental Law of Education, compulsory education in Japan comprises elementary and junior high school, which together last for 9 years. Almost all children continue their education at a 3-year senior high school. The 2 top-ranking universities in Japan are the University of Tokyo and Kyoto University. Starting in April 2016, various schools began the academic year with elementary school and junior high school integrated into one 9-year compulsory schooling program. Max T planned for this approach to be adopted nationwide. The programs for international students assessment or PISA coordinated by the OECD ranks in the knowledge and skill of Japanese 50 years old as the 3rd best in the world. Japan is one of the top performing OECD countries in the reading literacy, math and sciences, with the average student scoring 529 and has one of the world's highest educated labor forces among OECD countries. As of 2017, Japan's public spending on education amounted to just 3.3% of its GDP, below the OECD average of 4.9%. In 2017, the country ranked for the percentage of 25 to 64-year-olds that have attained tertiary education with 51%. Approximately 60% of Japanese aged 25 to 34 have some form of tertiary education qualification, and bachelor's degree are held by 30.4% of Japanese aged 25 to 64, the second most in the OECD after South Korea. Health in Japan and healthcare system in Japan. Healthcare in Japan is provided by national and local governments. Payment for personal medical services is offered through a universal health insurance system that provides relative quality of access, with fees set by a government committee. People with health insurance through employees can participate in a national health insurance program administered by local governments. Since 1973, all elderly persons have been covered by government-sponsored insurance. Japan spent 10.74% of its total GDP on healthcare in 2019. In 2020, the overall life expectancy in Japan at birth was 64.62 years, the highest in the world. While it had a very low infant mortality rate per 1,000 live births. Since 1981, the principal cause of death in Japan is cancer, which accounted for 27% of the total deaths in 2018, followed by cardiovascular diseases, which led to 15% of deaths. Japan has one of the world's highest suicide rates, which is considered a major social issue. Another significant public health issue is smoking among Japanese men. However, Japan has the lowest rate of heart disease in the OECD and the lowest level of dementia among developed countries. Okay guys, that's it about Japan. Thank you for watching. See you soon in another video.